You're listening to the Home Improvement Report podcast, episode number 49. Hi, I'm your host, Gary Neidert. Welcome to today's episode where Kyle Cox, founder of Blindster.com, is my guest. Now, I've been looking forward to talking with Kyle for a few weeks, and I knew he had some great information to share about starting his first window treatment company, selling it to Home Depot, and then later on starting Blindster 5 years later. So listen close to my conversation with Kyle now. I know you're going to enjoy it. Kyle, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tell our listeners your story of being in business and what you've done to make Blindster.com so successful.
Well, thank you for having me, Gary. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I know you started in the window treatment industry, 1999, 2000. Yes. You sold that business to Home Depot and then started Blindster. Can you fill in some of the details about that process?
It's a long story, but I'll kind of keep it short. It's a funny story. I'd gotten out of college and I had moved to a new home here in Houston, in Cypress, northwest suburb of Houston, and I worked for a Fortune 500 company, Black & Decker. Like I said, right when I got out of college, and started in Houston, then went to Albuquerque, then to Tampa, and then back to Houston, and had been promoted to move to Chicago in 98, late 98. Houston's, like I said, Northwest Houston is my hometown. We've been here for 38 years. So we wanted to stay here, and I'd always wanted to start my own business, and the timing was, the internet was, exploding. This is pre-bubble, and so, like stuff happened. I didn't know yet what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to sell something on the internet, start my own business. So I went through a ton of ideas. Like I bought different domain names and had every other day had an idea. Well, thankfully, my wife, when we moved into our new home, we ordered a custom faux wood blinds, like a lot of people do. It was a brand new home, so they measured and installed, and I thought it was crazy how expensive they were, and so we bought them. But how things go, there were 3 west-facing windows that my wife wouldn't cover. She wanted to do panel curtains, and I said, "I'm telling you, we need blinds." He said, "No, I want panel curtains." So let her do it. These were Florida-length windows, and about a year later, I said, I was right one night, because it was really hot in the afternoons and evenings. So I ordered blinds again, but this time I ordered them online because they were so much cheaper. But the websites that were out there were horrible. I mean, the blinds are a difficult product to sell online. They're customizable. There's tons of prices, of colors, and it's a challenging website to build. So back then, all they had were like price grids, and you had to call every website out there. So there were sites out there, but nobody had a site that you could, configure a blind, add it to a cart, and check out. And so after I got it, I said it was drop shipped to my house, the blind, and it was way cheaper. And I'm like, this guy didn't do anything. This guy's in his, office, and he calls up, he gets an order, and he calls up the manufacturer, because it ships direct from the manufacturer. See, he's just the middleman. And I said, boy, that's the perfect product, to do for the internet. Moment. I have to know yeah. It's a perfect product for the internet. Problem was I knew nothing about the industry. So what was that like in jumping off into not only a business or a product that you didn't know much about, but jumping in on the internet to sell that? I've always been, you got to have, I always say no reward without risk. And I've I'm a risk taker. Definitely. That's my personality. And if I believe in something and I believe I can do it, then I believe strongly that I'll do it. And I had everybody thought I was crazy to do it. And so, but I did take 6 months, walking our 9-month-old in the stroller, and I would put leaflets on people's doors, for blinds, and call my company Just Blinds because that's all I knew. And I didn't know anything about curtains or shutters or anything. But I did about 10 or 15 sales in over about 6 months. And I said, I can do this. So I found a developer and I paid $3,000 to build my first site. And the reason I knew a little bit about programming, and I didn't build it myself, but made it out of JavaScript to where you could enter a size and it would automatically calculate it, or enter a size. We only had 4 products. So like blinds, wood blinds, cellular shades, and arches actually. And we just started simple. And these were the days before you couldn't even buy anything online, like with a credit card. You could, but it wasn't like PayPal or PayPal was actually one of the ideas my cousin had, because we were eBay. We loved eBay, but there was no way to exchange money. And so, Elon Musk took that and ran with it. But my mom had to, we'd get the orders and she'd have to go to a terminal, because my mom was my first employee, and enter. After we'd get the credit card, she'd have to enter them into a terminal in our office. So it was the early days. We launched 2 weeks before the bubble burst.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which was good, because if we had launched a week earlier, earlier, there was these companies, if you remember, you'd go public, and so we'd have crashed and burned.
Yeah.
So wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, cool. So then how long was it before you sold that business to Home Depot?
Not even 5 years. I started it when I was 30, and it was just such a home run beyond my wildest dreams that I was young and, dumb. Actually, looking back, and the valuation I sold it for was low compared to what I could have sold it for. But I really, when you're offered that kind of money, but we were doubling every year.
Yeah.
The year before I sold it, we did 18 million. So our 4th year, we did 18 million and in revenue. So it just, exploded so fast, and we were on track to do probably 30 million the next year. But
wow.
I was presented with a nice offer, and it was, at the time anyway, I have no regrets about anything I've done. You can't. You learn. They're learning experiences, right?
Exactly.
So that's why I'm back in the business. So I'll figure, I'll do it again.
How long did you have to wait in between?
I had a 5-year non-compete.
So how much had changed in between the time you sold the first one and when you started Blindster?
A lot had changed. There were a lot of copycats. Google AdWords had changed. Pay-per-click advertising had changed. I used to be able to be number one on for keywords like blinds and pay 50 cents for it. Now it's $16.
Mm-hmm. Are you still advertising Google AdWords? You are. Oh man.
Yeah. And then organic.
Yeah.
Organic was, obviously big, but Google hadn't gotten nearly as smart yet. Obviously, they've got a bazillion Stanford and Harvard and Ivy League grads there that are pretty smart guys. So their algorithm, they've continued to upgrade it. So update it, and it's gotten smarter. There's no real ways to cheat anymore. In the early days we never did, but there were people that would would link trading and stuff to move yourself up. But we do pay-per-click. Google, no telling how much Google that I've spent on Google over between the two companies. I've had Blindster for 2 years, my new company, and then I had Just Blinds for 4.5 years. And I don't even want it would make me puke if I knew how much I had spent that I've given Google. So
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Do you still do, well, besides Google, do you do much with like Facebook or any of the other social media sites?
We do social media. We've got, um, uh, we're not, I would say that's probably the biggest area in which we're lacking and is challenging for us because of what we sell. It's, custom blinds and shutters. I equate it to like tires. You typically buy them when you need them. You're not out shopping for blinds, or there's not new clothing. The types of products that are big on social media, we don't have like new products coming out. The same product that was our best seller 20 years ago when I started my first business is the best seller today. The industry is kind of slow to adapt. And since we don't make what we produce, it's all private labeled, but that's the entire industry. I don't care if it's Home Depot, if it's wherever, if you're getting custom blinds, they're made by fabricators that make them and put your label on them and ship them direct. So we all buy the same product from the same company. So yeah, social media has been a challenge. I've had really good luck with radio. We moved into radio about 2015, and that's a large part of our marketing budget now is radio advertising.
Yeah. So that's still been pretty strong then.
It's been amazing. It's amazing. Now we were on the biggest personality we for 5 years that there is on the radio. I'm sure you can.
I think I remember.
Imagine who that is.
I think I remember hearing your ads.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool.
And I do all my own. I write all my own scripts. I do all my own ads. I voice all my own ads. I just figured when I got in early, versus having voice actors, if you don't have the host of the show do them, who's the next person that would be, that you would trust, or, that you would have maybe some credibility with, and that would be the owner of the company. So,
My Pillow, Mike Lindell, good example, man. I see him all over TV, and he's the guy.
He is. His story is amazing.
Yeah.
He is almost, for me anyway, to the point of oversaturation.
Yeah.
That can happen where you almost get irritated because, boy, he does a lot of advertising. It's funny. It reminds me of when fantasy football, like the DraftKings and all that, became really big about 5 years ago, and they were advertising on the radio. They were spending like $200 million. Well, it brought them to the government's attention because they were advertising. There were two big companies. I can't remember the name of the other one, and the government went after them. And because they'd never not over the advertising, just that it kind of brought awareness to what their product was. But yeah. My Pill has been pretty incredible, amazing business, and he's just keeps adding to it, adding products and
I've noticed that. And there's a company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's called Milestone Electric. It's Milestone Service now, but they do electrical. Then they added heating and air conditioning. They added plumbing, window cleaning, a whole bunch of stuff, and they have this ad, Milestone Electric, we'll fix it in a flash. And so the
jingle's good. Jingles are good if you can get a good one, a memorable one.
Yeah. But they saturate the market. And they've had people say, would you quit running those commercials? We're tired of them.
Yeah.
But they keep running them because they
work.
Yeah. And that's why they keep running them. So.
What did, was it Zig Ziglar, or no, it was maybe Carnegie said, early to bed, early to rise, advertise, advertise, advertise. And it is true for any business. It's advertising, especially when you're trying to promote a brand. We would never have, we wouldn't be where we are today without that amount of advertising that we do. Our our advertising is, our marketing budget is overwhelmingly, since we don't have inventory, is an overwhelmingly highest cost on our P&L. So, balance sheet or financials.
Yeah.
So.
I want to go back to the, you said that the products haven't changed that much in 20 years. What was popular 20 years ago is still the best-selling thing today. And what is that? What's the most popular item?
Faux wood blinds and wood blinds. Yeah.
So, and there hasn't been anything new, like innovations or anything like that added to the market? It's just blinds or blinds or blinds.
Motorized is becoming, is finally gotten down to a price that is affordable. That's the next big thing. It's gotten down. It used to be, you buy a blind or shade for $100, then you make it motorized for $300. Oh. So now the motor prices have come down. So that is, I'm serious. We had our top categories are, cellular shades or honeycomb shades. Some people call them Roman shades. Those are all, our best roller shades, solar shades, which are the same thing as roller shades. They just are more like a screen material that you can see through. And so it's very frustrating for me since we don't make anything. It's hard for me to, I do go to some of our manufacturers that, they're the biggest in the world, and give them ideas, because I'm constantly being out there. I have lots of ideas, and I have one that actually has done some of the things that I've asked them to do, and one of them has become hugely popular, and we have a patent on it. It's called No Tools, and so you install the blinds without any tools.
Yeah,
you don't require any tools or screws or anything.
Yeah, I think I saw that on your website, just a little bit that no tool install, and that's a pretty cool idea.
The adhesive technology today is amazing.
Yeah,
you've got double-sided tape that can hold 30 pounds, and so I see with adhesive technology that, and also the younger generation. Not being maybe as handy as because we kind of had to be, right?
Yeah.
And so to install a screw and an anchor, and I see like wall plates, and I'll be honest with you, I installed a toilet paper holder a week ago, and it had a flat back, didn't have the two individual ones. It was neat. It had like a flat back that you can attach, and it attached with double-sided tape, had a flat. You need more space area than like than the ends, and then it had a place to put your phone, because that was kind of cool. So when you use the body, and it just you set it on there, you hold it about 30 seconds, and you couldn't take that off. You can actually take them off if you had to with like a heat gun or possibly a hair dryer, but will it damage your drywall? If you can't do that, yes, but so would putting a drill screws into your wall too. So,
exactly.
So you're going to have to get some patch either way.
Yeah.
But and nobody takes their blinds once you have out of there.
Yeah.
Most people keep their blinds. It's not something like I said you go shopping for. Honey, let's go shopping for blinds or for window coverings. Maybe when you're redoing a room, or obviously when you're buying a new home. But that doesn't happen very often.
Which is it pretty even in terms of people redoing a room versus someone who's built a new home? Is that pretty even on the customers, on the number of customers you get for each one?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. It's about real close to 50-50, just like our demographic, which you'd never guessed before Google had, I was going to say a trillion, but Google's amount of information on all of us. I would have never guessed our demo was basically 50-50 women to men. I would have guessed it was over, more women. But it's not. It's about 50-50 male female. So, and
that's interesting.
Our demographic too is as far as age is 55.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It's older than I would have thought. And that's true. I know collectively the large players, the internet retailers, there's like 3 or 4 of us. And I could tell you because we all use the same vendors and we all know the same, it's such a small group. I could tell you their volume and revenue, and what they sell very close to what they do because we all share the same reps and all that. So I could get real close to what all of them do in revenue. So I know what they're doing compared to us, and they're the same demo. So we'd like to reach a younger demo. I think maybe that's what No Tools will help us do.
Yeah.
And social media will too. That's where we've got our biggest opportunity for growth. And we're doing we'll be launching a ground up website complete rebuild, and it'll be launching in December. That our other site, the code was 11 years old, and the code was just not possible to be able to do page load faster, and for mobile, to optimize for mobile, and so many different things that you need now. And so another thing, people would say I'm crazy. I take a company that does 40 million a year in revenue and with online, and I'm completely blowing up the website, completely blowing it up. So
the website that I clicked on it today, went into it. And so that website that you click on today has been up for 10 years?
10 years.
Wow.
Started with a zero and put all my own money. I own 100%, totally self-funded.
It's a good looking website. I mean, I was going through there and looking at it, and your FAQ page, I think that's fantastic because there's probably 25, 30 FAQs in there.
There are.
And usually somebody has 4 or 5 FAQs, and it's very, very informative. It's awesome.
I want you to go back in December and see what we have.
Okay.
Because we'll have blinds that 360 degrees of views of every blind we have. We'll have every blind in every color. We'll have new videos, I look at it like if a customer's calling us, which very few do, because we have all the information on our website, but I want a customer to be able to see that blind from every angle, use all the technologies that we have to be able to, if people call, then we're doing something wrong. We didn't provide the information on the site. We're an internet business. How many people call Amazon? It's like we're an internet business. I don't want people to have to call. They're welcome to call, but I want to provide. It's thank you for saying it's good. When I go to it, since it's 10 years old, we've made improvements, of course, over the years, but our page load speed right now is on average is 6 seconds on the not on the speed that we're used to using. It load much faster, but our new site will load in half a second on basically whatever you're down to. I think 3G is what the median Google does tests on. So so. And our mobile, again, we're optimizing it for mobile. Mobile's so huge right now. 70% of our visitors are mobile.
Yeah. My wife lives on her cell phone. I mean, she lives on her cell phone. She does business on her cell phone. She produces a music event. It used to be a live event, but with COVID-19, things changed and she had to do it virtual. But for the most part, she runs that. It's not a business; it's a volunteer thing. But she runs it off her phone, and I'm just amazed. I have to have the computer on my desk. I'm just not there.
It's funny. I'm old school too.
Yeah.
I am. I'm sorry. I can't do it on my. My daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, she's doing this. Texting, and I go, my fat thumbs. I go, one at a time. And I'm not into mobile either. So that's.
Do you know Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He did a series over the summer about revealing a new dummy. And I forgot what he called the dummy, but he went through all the different steps and phases of creating this thing. And he finally revealed it. He didn't give the voice to it, but the character, the eyes move up and down and side to side. And so he had this where this dummy had its thumbs, where he could do like that. And that was the whole thing. He had a phone and he was doing a texting with his thumbs. And I thought, yeah, you're hitting the right spot there. So many. Oh, and I saw something else about people hunching over, looking at their phones, causing problems in the back and the neck and all that kind of thing. So it's a whole new generation of about.
I'm one of the few that'll go to meet somebody for lunch and I'll turn off my phone.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I don't need to be that connected. I think about my dad. He used to work for IBM, retired with IBM, and they had voicemail. I mean, you can live without being instantly, so yeah, out of respect to the person that I went to meet with, if it's an important meeting or a lunch meeting, I'll turn it off.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll get back to you when it can be nothing is that important.
Yeah.
That I can't, I came there to meet with you, not to meet with the person, or not to have my phone like everybody else does set out on the table, right? I don't do that. No, I don't do that.
Mine stays in my pocket usually. So, so I like to watch videos and stuff on the phone.
I do too.
So, yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
An email, of course, text.
Yeah.
But I don't do. I have my laptop out. I used to like tablets, but now I've switched to laptops. A lot of sites don't render correctly on tablets. They're kind of going out.
Yeah.
But
and here we are. We're still in the COVID thing. And I was curious, it's affected all kinds of businesses, and I've been in contact with, home improvement type companies, and early on, I was amazed at how busy they were. Even when it was really bad, these home improvement companies were just blowing and going. They couldn't keep up with it. How has the COVID thing affected your business?
It's been amazing for business. I mean, I think for majority of e-commerce, it has. I know the home industry, I think mortgage rates. I have an employee that's purchasing and having a new home built, and he got like 2.9 interest, and he got a really good discount, really good deal on it. But yeah, that is, it is, exploding. And the one thing about COVID, I don't think, just like as us, that society won't probably ever be the same again. Mm-hmm. It's changed. Our volume's up, close to 100% over last year, which has been very challenging. We're trying to manage and try to hire people during COVID. They're working remotely, so that's very difficult. But I think it's changed the mindset of people that would have never probably purchased or hadn't purchased online, certainly hadn't purchased blinds online, to look online. That way they don't have someone coming in their home, at least for blinds, So most people I know that are in the e-commerce business, their business is tremendous increase. So I didn't know. I was, I was scared to death in the beginning. I really didn't know. I've got about 30 employees total, so I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that I know that
we weren't all working from. We had the ability for some people to work at home, like during Harvey we did. But I'm anxious for us to get back actually working in the office, because just the culture of our company, and that's one of the big things that I think I about my employees. I've had very, very few people actually leave that have worked for me, and I kind of take it personally. And when you're just working from home, we'd hired several people, and they're working from home. All they know, the relationship they've established is over the phone with the people that trained them, and come in their office and see how we are as a company, and we're different. We're a small company, like a family. We do, fun stuff. And so anyway, I look forward, and I think we'll probably start doing that within the next week or two. A lot of companies are. I know my brother-in-law works for ConocoPhillips, and they brought everybody back in this week.
Oh, good.
Everybody, 100%.
Yeah, so, that is good. Wow. Well, do you think that more businesses are going to stay with the emphasis on doing business online? I mean, like people that, outside of the online industry, do you think they're going to do that, or do you think they're going to try to get back to doing things in an office?
I think they'll. It depends on the industry. I don't know. I would say that, from what you read, is that companies have realized now that their employees can work from home and be efficient and do their job, the same job they were doing. So, like, think about it. They could save a lot of office space, a lot of, a lot of travel expenses. That's a lot of money for it just being able to communicate, from home. So I see that forever changing the business landscape. So I can only speak for ourselves. We're a small company. I do see, not every, depends on the company, but I see every company keeping a good portion of at least some of their workforce at home.
Yeah.
Which, so, I mean, which if you've read articles, it's health, negative health, as well. There's issues, with just working from home and not interacting with people. And, it's a different, it's a, especially for me, for a small company, I think it's important to have, the way, we treat our customers is so important. And I think it helps to have, people know about the mentality and, and how we, of the company, and what my store, just the emphasis we have on customer service. And I don't think they get that in training over the phone.
Yeah. And that is hard. I've officed out of my home for 24 years, up until last November. And I'm still officing out of my home, but not where the Home and Garden shows anymore. But that was, for me, it works out because I could be a hermit pretty easy. And but I know not everybody. I know a lot of people that they need to be in an office. One of the guys that worked at IEI many years ago, he said, "I can't do what you do. I have to be in the office." And I said, "Well, I get that, but for me, it worked out." And but I know there's a lot of
personality. There are a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people can't be efficient, and you have to be self-motivated to do that, right?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. One of the things that I did notice, we couldn't have church. Nobody could have church for a long time. And then all of a sudden we've got church online, and our church was able to broadcast a service with nobody in the auditorium. And that filled a need to be able to broadcast it. But it was really nice to be able to go back and when we could, and to be able to see everybody, because you don't get to see them. And so that part was good.
Yeah, that's a big part.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
my mother still, does her Bible study, and they do it in person now. And
yeah.
she's 75,
Yeah.
but she has some really good friends that they all get together.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, cool. Now, I know you sell direct to the homeowner, but what does your ideal client look like? I mean, like their age. Well, you said 55 a while ago, but, are they first-time DIYers, seasoned DIYers, or combination?
Our ideal customer is the one we sell product to, and they're happy, and we never hear from. Yeah. And they
Perfect answer.
And they tell their friends about us, right? Because that's the best form and least expensive form of advertising. And
Yeah.
I think I get that. It's part of seeing the big picture. That's why we work so hard to make our customers happy by some of our policies, and people are like, wow, I can't believe these guys. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to tell. When you have an experience like that, what do? You tell with a company, you tell your friends about it and family. You got to go here. That's what we want. We want to please as many as possible customers and try to turn a negative into a positive, and then they end up referring us, and we can do that most of the time. And some people, it's just you're never going to please them. So then you give them, and you don't want them to buy from me anyway. So that's the 1%, 2% maybe. And so you give them our competitors' website and say, go here.
Yeah.
Go to these guys.
Yeah, that's true.
By ideal, you mean our just overall demographic typical. You said first-time home buyer. That's a tough one. One of the things we're doing with the new site is a survey, and we'll have a survey at the end. And we don't right now because I'm really, we do send a review email, and we have a Google review because reviews are so important. And we have over 30,000 if you count them all up online. Since it's been over 10 years, both on our site and on Google. And on multiple other sites on Google, we've got probably 5,000 Google reviews because there's a pop-up at the end. But as far as getting that kind of information, I believe it's remodels. It's a little bit more skewed to remodels versus new homeowners. I know a lot of people have asked me, have I worked with realtors and stuff like that, and we try to go our cost for dollar, like the milestone you were talking about. Believe it or not, their ads would be tremendously more expensive than mine are because they're to a specific market. Mine are nationwide, so like my cost per impression is far cheaper than his are because I'm going a wide audience, and we're selling a brand. We're trying to you don't carry your sizes of your blinds windows around in your pocket, and so it's not a direct response. Where radio typically, and it sounds like they're not, but radio is typically direct response, especially nationwide, like 800 Flowers or LifeLock and all that. But now that I think of it, local radio a lot of times is brand building, where it's a roofer or whatever they want. But those ads are actually very expensive because you're dealing to a small, like Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so your cost per impression when you do those ads is going to be very expensive. So it never has made much sense for us to advertise that way. It's always been more of a national, it makes more sense to advertise for us nationally. So for sure.
Yeah. They'd been in business for a number of years, and there came a point where they wanted to expand, and they chose to go big into Yellow Pages. And it's many years ago when Yellow Pages worked well. And it still works well for some companies, but they jumped all in. And
it used to be expensive. I remember those ads were expensive, Yellow Page ads.
At the time, they spent $40,000 a month.
Wow.
And they weren't a big company. But as soon as the Yellow Pages hit, then they had to start adding trucks and hiring new people and all that kind of thing. and they were very smart in the way that they grew, and so I'm sure they're in Yellow Pages now, but they've grown to where they, their own TV, their own radio, and they've got all kinds of stuff going, and but they're blowing and going, and but
we're just getting started. We've talked about TV ads, and we're doing. Have you seen, if you watch like an app online, like you can download, let's say my wife likes 90 Day Fiance, so you can actually go watch that through the TLC app, but they have these long commercial breaks that you cannot fast forward or anything. Well, those are called, I believe, bumper ads, and so we're getting into those, and so that's kind of our first foray into quasi TV, I guess you could say, apps. Yeah. We actually haven't done a podcast before, and the reason is just there's if you have advertisers, I probably shouldn't say. I'm just worried about, like, with DVR, you can record something and skip past stuff, and a lot of people don't. But I don't listen to. I guess, again, just kind of like with mobile, I'm afraid people would skip our ads. So kind of like when you DVR stuff but I know that been told by our radio personalities that there's typically very few ads between segments. It's not like you're going to sit around for 5 or 6 ads or 10 ads on. So it's just, a couple ads, and then, so it's not a big distraction. So I just am not, I'm behind the times on the whole podcast thing. Yeah. So
do you listen to many or any podcasts?
No.
So, well, in 2015, I started getting interested in podcasting, and before that, it was video. YouTube went live in Valentine's Day of 2005, according to Google, which Google should know since they own YouTube.
That's the day. That's a month before. Wait, you said Valentine's Day 2005? That's when I sold my first company.
Is it really?
February 2005.
Yeah. Well, in 2007, I got into the video thing and was really interested in that, and then it shifted over to podcasting, and the episode that was released this morning, I was talking about some statistics, some podcast statistics. And it seems to be that a podcast listener is more interested in listening to the entire podcast.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that from our radio. We're going to test it. And same thing on Sirius Radio. We have not used them before, but I always thought on Sirius, then people are going to change channels because there's 100 different channels, kind of like before cable was out with TV. But they're saying that's not true, so we're gonna do it. We're going to talk about it. Have I listened to some? Yes. Yeah. Do I listen to any on a regular basis? No. Everybody I know does. It's just one of those things when you get into it, and you were to, then I'm sure listen to more. But it's just something I got to get into. Yeah. I've got one employee that's got like 1,000 of them that he listens to. Yeah. And I'm sure I will. So you were an early adopter then of that.
Well, I think they're really worth looking into because of, you can use them with social media and like what I do, doing right now, doing the video. And you'll post that on YouTube and then strip the audio out and then post it wherever. Oh, believe me,
our rep with iHeartRadio has been trying to get me to do them for years, and we will test them. I mean, he's been trying to, but again, old school and stuff like that. So I don't think about, I kind of question things. I'm old school about so many things I do. So I'm like, podcasts, if I don't listen to them, then, and then I found out, okay, these ads, you could, but I agree. That's the same statistics they they've given me. So we're going to give it a try.
Yeah.
Actually, next year we will. That's part of our budget.
Cool.
I was supposed to go deep sea fishing this weekend with my iHeart on Friday with my iHeart rep, and we've had to reschedule already because last week was the hurricane, and then we just got the remnants of, and then now this coming Friday, supposedly the weather's supposed to be horrible so, down here. So we're going to try the next week. So he's our iHeart Radio representative. So
well, I really when I got into video, I was going, man, everybody's got to do video. And kind of getting into the podcasting thing, it's kind of like, you need to do a podcast. You need to do a podcast.
When did you start podcast?
2015.
2015. Okay.
Yeah. The home improvement report.com. I did kind of, I'd start and I'd start and stop. And over the last few weeks, months, I've been real consistent with putting out an episode, trying to make sure I do that. And I've done solo, I've done interviews like what we're doing today. And so, I'm just going to keep at it, and probably will add another podcast along the way of My First Ride podcast, where it talks about, people's experience with their first car and what was the emotion behind that, what was that like, and all that kind of thing. So, but
I always like to know people's story. I know you're interviewing me, but if you, what's the like? How'd you get into radio in the beginning? I mean, is it something that you got out of college to do, or is that you like? How'd you get into this in your business? Were you in radio before? Were you in radio? Mm-mm. Oh,
no.
Okay.
No,
What'd you do before?
I worked for the company that used to produce the Texas Home and Garden Show Houston. And
that's, but you got into that from where? You got into there from somewhere.
I just,
you knew something about them
in 1991, 92. My wife and I had been married for just a few months, and I was looking for something different. I just answered an ad in the newspaper.
Oh, wow.
And
I did too. For my first job. Houston Chronicle. Yeah.
Funny. And I went, what's a home and garden show? I've never been to one. I don't know what they're about. And got into it. And the company I originally went to work for was bought out by the one in Houston.
Yeah.
And along the way, I wanted to figure out ways to prospect online. And that's why I started the video, because video does, it produces trust. People will watch videos and they'll kind of get an idea of what the person's like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the same thing started happening with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to do that, the idea was behind the home improvement report was talk to companies that would be a good prospect for the home and garden show and interview the owners or the managers of those businesses, not to pitch them on the home and garden shows, but just to find out about them and their business.
To get their story.
Doing. Exactly.
People underestimate the power of a story.
Exactly.
People learn about you, and you're not just some, invisible, this company that's just out there selling. Hey, tell your story. How to get started, people didn't used to really be like that. It was like, when I started my first company, it was 99, and, I'd have business cards made up and, to make me look professional. And, and so you wanted to look all like a big company and professional, when here I was answering the phone out of my house by myself. And I had a designer on staff, but you could only email her. Her name was Jenny, and it was me. Because I would answer the emails, so that made it look like I had an in-house designer. Yeah. So it made me look larger. Yeah, the story. Lots of books on it, like Story Brand, and it's big thing that when I go to a site and I've never heard of them, I always like to hear the story behind, so yeah.
So are you big into Story Brand? Have you gone through any of his courses?
Yeah, no, I have not gone through his courses. I read his book.
I would love to go through when they were doing it in person, I would love to have been able to do that.
I didn't know they were due. Oh yeah, he was doing. Yeah, so he doesn't do them anymore.
Not since the COVID. Okay. Yeah, he's. I think he's done a couple of the Story Brand deals online since COVID hit.
Yeah, I love that. It's required. It was required reading for our marketing team, which is really just two other people. We're pretty lean. We're pretty lean organization. So
he's got the new one, Marketing Made Simple University.
Okay,
and you can get a daily update from him, from Donald Miller, and it's just he talks about different things. He's got a new book coming out. I'm sold on the guy, and he's not doing anything different other than problem, agitate, solve. That's his marketing story.
Absolutely,
but it's packaged a little bit differently, and that makes the customer the hero. And I like that approach. I like that approach.
I do too.
Yeah.
One of the things in terms of advertising, they say the company doesn't want to. Or doesn't want to hear about you. They'll maybe know your story, but they want to know how you can help them, how you can serve them and solve their problem, and rather than just be sold to. And so we've tried to do that.
Yeah.
And what we do versus just saying, here we are, this is what we are, and we can do this for, it's like, okay, let's hear, we want to know about you and put it, and it's true, because it's like, they always say you spend, it's a known fact, people, well, the number one word in the English language, number one letter is I, of course. And so, but I always looked at it like, when you're talking, you're not, or when you're talking, you're not learning. And I talk too much. I do. I talk too much anyway. It's just,
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you like Donald Miller. He's a good guy.
I do.
He's a good guy. Along the way, even when you first started in '99, have you ever had an oops, moment where you go, oh my gosh, what has happened here? Well, was something went haywire, went wrong, and have you ever had one of those? And what did you do to fix it? And what did you learn from it?
That is a good question, because I always, like I said, old saying is anything that maybe a regret or mistake people have, I just look at it like, okay, that didn't work. Oh, I have one. No, that was actually Blindster. That's my current company. But yeah, you learn from it, right? So it's how you respond to disappointments or negative things that happen. It's not that they happen. It's how you respond to them, right? How you respond to that problem or setback that you had. That's what's important. I was trying to think with my first company. I do try to always look at the bright side of things, and I don't offhand. I know that I have with my second company, because it was a totally different landscape. But I would say the only thing I can remember is I was so new to business is that in the 4 years I had the company, we never had one staff meeting. And I had 20 something employees, and we I just never thought to. I was like, I didn't. And now, of course, you need that communication, not just via email. It's important to communicate with your employees. But I just, I'm always been I work 7 days a week. I work when when I go on vacation, I literally have to just turn my phone off and just say, guys, I won't, I'm not gonna, I'm just, it's tough because I do own the company and now and before, and it's tough to break away. It really is for me. So to get the company completely out of my mind, I don't sleep very much, and it's tough.
I need to send you the link to the video from Donald Miller either today or yesterday, and he talks about. No, it's a podcast. It talks about.
Yeah, I was about to say, they have podcasts.
He was talking about sharing the load of responsibility with the employees instead of, just as the owner of the company, just taking it all on and worrying.
I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I really, if I want to continue to grow, I'm not going to be able to do. My wife just begs me all the time, you've got to get help. And I didn't, I guess I had I had an epiphany and my aha moment like 3 years ago. We were at an internet show and people would say, okay, can I, get the card? Can you give me contact of your marketing or chief marketing officer? I said, that would be me. And then how about your CTO? And I said, that would be me. And then it's how about your COO? That would be me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I probably need some help. But yeah, delegated and offload is the word that we always hear. But it's hard. It's hard because it's hard to put. But so many of our, Steve Jobs, Bezos. I remember quotes from Steve Jobs just saying that you don't hire people and tell them what to do. You hire good people and have them tell you what to do. Right. So you got to keep your pulse on the business. But if you truly want to grow and we want to be $100 million company and, said 2022 has always been my goal, but I think we could possibly hit it next year with the COVID and the increase that we're seeing, and we're having growing pains. But yeah, it's tough to find those people though, because I've hired family and friends, and then I run out of hiring family and friends. So then I have to hire, but a lot of the people I know, and then I find them through people they know. Mm-hmm. So, but hiring I need a COO that'll run the day-to-day operations. And I'm not good at that's not one of my strengths. So, you realize what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? Yeah. And so I know that's not a strength of mine.
Yeah, my wife, she does that music event, and up until this year, she pretty much did it all. She had some people that would help her, but because it was so different, they were having to basically start from scratch with their program because it was going to be strictly online. And how do you judge someone playing piano online? Well, they had to figure all that out. And this is probably one of the hardest years she's had because she had to delegate the responsibility of a lot of that to people. It was hard. It was hard on her. And I know over the years she hasn't wanted to do that, but she was kind of forced into it this year. But it's not an easy thing, and I get that. One of the
my wife just says, "Why don't you just quit growing?" And then
oh no,
then you won't have to. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just slow it down.
Yeah, one of the owners of Milestone Electric, our daughter, was a cheerleader in high school with their daughter, and so I talked to him one time. His name is Mark, and I said. I just asked him about, his business and whatever, but I would, maybe I'll be able to do this, I don't know, but I would love to have a podcast interview with him and ask him, how did you make the mental leap going from, one or two trucks to 30? And
how long has he been in business? Do you know?
25 years.
And when did he make the leap, to really being aggressive with advertising? He probably at one point tested it and saw the results, and then, obviously expanded the advertising, his budget. But
it's been about 15 to 18 years ago when their big leap was whenever they did the Yellow Page ads.
Yeah.
And that
it exploded, and then
and I think it kind of,
that's what we did with our first we started advertising, with the biggest radio personality in the country by far, and in 2015, and my first budget was more money than we had in the bank. And everybody thought I was nuts again, but I'm used to people telling me I'm crazy, so it's okay.
That's all right.
If I believe in something, then I make, I believe in it. So I'm not one of those dip your toe. I just dive in head first.
Yeah.
See if I can back up.
Plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we probably ought to wrap this up. And if you're interested, I'd like to do another one later on down the road. And if you're open to that, I'd love to do that.
I loved talking to you. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. And
I love to tell my story anytime I can. I try to inspire people to, most actually people aren't risk takers. They accept the world for the way it is. But, when you see something, somebody made that. Somebody had the idea to make that. So you can have a better idea. So, but it does take risk, to do, whether it's quitting your job or spending money on something. But, I love to, if my story helps, help anybody, I love to do that, and love to be back on. I really do.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this a whole lot. So what's the best way for a prospective client to order from Blindster? Is it go to the website?
Go to the website. It's I don't even say www. It's blindster.com. It's blinds and then TER, kind of like Napster, or one of the, so it's just blindster.com, and you get, product information, photos, pricing, of course. And we have, everybody here is highly trained window covering pros. We don't have a call center that just with regular folks in it, just order takers. So we make sure that people here know their stuff, but and we offer free samples, so if you see a wood blind or a fabric blind or something that you want, we'll ship those out for free and within 1 day.
I saw that.
Yeah, within 1 day. But the post office is a little slow right now, so it takes a little bit of time to get them. But and just like our delivery and production is too. I mean, with the social distancing, it's been so challenging. I'm sure it is for everybody. I know it has been for FedEx. Just to have that kind of volume increase in such a short period of time, nobody was prepared. Yeah. Not all retail businesses have been struggling. I think you asked me earlier about retail, and I kind of jumped over it, but it'll change the landscape forever. But the ones that you see, that are going bankrupt, all those retailers, every one of them. I have a good friend that's a VP of supply chain at Tailored Brands, which is Men's Warehouse. They did not focus. They took too late to focus on e-commerce. So that's just, you have to be able to see when you see something and know, you have to be able to adapt and be willing to change. And the ones that are failing, for overwhelming majority, did not do that.
Right.
They did not adapt, or it's too late.
Right.
Tailored Brand stock, which is Men's Warehouse, was, $20 or $30 a few years ago. Now it's 9 cents.
Oh gosh.
So,
is Tailored Brands, did they acquire?
Men's Warehouse? They were, you remember George Zimmer? He was the big fat voice of, well, he got ousted from his own company back, I don't know, about 5 years ago. And think he's been hoping for them to fail. But yeah, they became tailored brands when they got listed on the Fortune 500 because they recently acquired, not recently, about 3 years ago, acquired Joseph Bank, and then a couple other different, I think Alice Formalware, K&G. So yeah, it was they have a large group that they're not doing well, just like so many retailers. But like I said, they I think they would have survived, and they're going to restructure, and maybe they will, but they need to focus. The focus needs to be e-commerce is going to be a tremendous part of any retailer's business. It better be focus, and they were all late to adapt to that. Perfect example of a company that wasn't is like Home Depot. They're just doing fantastic right now, and where Lowe's isn't. Lowe's is not doing as well, but that's because Home Depot and their CEO about 5 years started the focus on e-commerce and on these advances in digital technology, and so they were the leader there. So really, Lowe's is not. They're seeing single digit growth store over store, and then Home
they're
Depot,
kind of
course,
behind the curve a little bit on a lot of stuff, because Home Depot, and I read this a couple of weeks ago, that Home Depot has for a very long time rented out tools, and then Lowe's just now comes to the party. We're going to rent tools. Home Depot's doing that,
They're a follow, and Home Depot's got the lockers now. You can go and they'll pick them up there. You don't even have to go in the store. And of course they have where you can order it online, and the BOPIS, I guess or order online, pickup in store, whatever the acronym for that is. But that's big now.
Yeah.
But
I did a podcast episode a couple of 3 weeks ago just on
BOPIS,
that.
I think, buy online, pick up in store. BOPIS. Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, we better wrap this up, and because I'm enjoying this, and I can talk for a long time. So, well,
I can too. So I've got if I meet you again, we talk more about Blindster and how I started it and why I started it, and because that's actually I've been in the business twice as long now as my first company, and I learned a lot. Yeah, and and you talked about changes or looking back, where there are learning experiences or things that issues that I learned about, problems that we had, and I couldn't really think of very many. I'm sure there are that I'm just. But Blindster, we've had several, so we had learning experience. We've adapted, and took us years to be profitable with how competitive the environment is now. But I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I'd love it. That'd be great. Well, Kyle, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Thanks again for taking the time to be a part of the Home Improvement Report podcast.
Well, thank you, Gary. I really enjoyed it. Great talking to you. It's good to meet you. And
Man, what a great time I had talking with Kyle. The time just flew by and left me with a whole lot more questions. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back in a few weeks and expand on his story. But for now, make sure you check out blindster.com when you need to update your window treatments or if you buy a new home. Well, what's next? I'm working on a couple of topics for the next couple of episodes, dealing with the most dangerous clients for home improvement type companies and charging clients what you're really worth. Now, I bet you probably know someone that would be a great guest for the Home Improvement Report, right? Well, let me know a little bit about them and their story. I'm always looking for great stories of business successes. The story behind the story. What about you being a guest on the Home Improvement Report? I would love to hear and record your story of success. The story behind the story. Well, check us out on our website, thehomeimprovement.report.com. And of course, you can also go to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Subscribe to the podcast and listen to previous episodes of the Home Improvement Report. Contact me if you have any questions regarding today's podcast. I'm Gary Neidert, and you've just experienced the Home Improvement Report podcast. Call me 972-771-7899. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.